As if to underscore decades of unrest in the Middle East, this weekend marks 35 years since the end of Operation Desert Storm, the successful U.S.-led military campaign to drive Saddam Hussein's Iraqi invaders out of Kuwait. David Martin has the story of a more recent fight for those who served, their battle for recognition.
505.
The first Persian Gulf War lasted 6 weeks. Kuwait was liberated from the murderous grasp of Saddam Hussein, and the Iraqi army admitted defeat at a surrender ceremony presided over by the charismatic general, Norman Schwarzkopf.
Let's say congratulations to you. Well, I'm not here to give them anything. I'm here to tell them exactly what we expect them to do.
Stormin' Norman, as he was called, became the most popular battlefield general since World War II.
Please be seated. Thank you.
His commander-in-chief, President George H.W. Bush, had an 89% approval rating.
And by God, we've kicked Vietnam syndrome once and for all. Thank you very, very much.
And for the first time in a generation, America felt good about its military. More than 500,000 Americans served in Operation Desert Storm. 148 were killed in action. Yet today, it is all but forgotten.
I just felt like that was not right and that something had to be done to change that.
Scott Stump, a lowly Marine lance corporal in that war, set out to build a memorial to Desert Storm on the National Mall, probably the most prized real estate in all of America.
I'd been to Washington, D.C. one time in my life. That was the summer of 8th grade. I mean, I had no connections, didn't know anybody.
First, he had to persuade Congress to pass a bill authorizing the memorial.
It was like pulling teeth to get them to do that.
What kind of responses would you get?
Well, there weren't enough people that died, for there to be a memorial.
Every one of those lives is as unique and precious as a snowflake.
Before his acclaimed volumes on World War II and the Revolutionary War, Pulitzer Prize-winning historian Rick Atkinson wrote a book about Desert Storm.
As a nation, we should always remember all those who die for us. The fact that the casualty rate was relatively low compared to the thousands or tens of thousands that many had feared would be the case is a measure of success.
We all felt like there was a chance that we might never come home.
Plastic outside, inside serrated metal, double-one buckshot.
The U.S. had not committed so many troops to battle since Vietnam.
We were rallied around the commanding officer one Friday afternoon, and he gave us the speech, look to your left, look to your right. One of you is not going to be coming home.
Stump tried to recruit big names to his cause, like Colin Powell, who as chairman of the Joint Chiefs became one of the breakout stars of Desert Storm.
Our strategy to go after this army is very, very simple. First, we're going to cut it off, and then we're going to kill it.
But in an email to Stump, an aide quoted Powell as saying Desert Storm was a short operation and not an extended war, and he would be surprised that Congress would pass this and allot a place on the mall for such a memorial.
He thinks that, it's behind us, that the country is not going to support it either politically or financially. And, he's obviously wrong.
This is a bas-relief, the main wall that we call it, the storm wall, that tells the story of the various phases of Operation Desert Storm.
There's the stealth fighter, which dropped the first bombs on Baghdad. And then after the air war comes the 4-day ground war. The Desert Storm Memorial is scheduled to open in October and in a prime location, next to the Lincoln Memorial and down the street from the Vietnam Memorial.
We had to fight tooth and nail to secure this site, and in fact, the typical time period for site selection takes 18 months. Ours took 39 grueling months.
When you asked for this site, what was the response?
You don't belong there. This isn't important enough to be located in that spot.
The location makes its own statement.
A visitor is going to say it must be important, otherwise it wouldn't be right here by the Lincoln Memorial or the Vietnam Memorial.
The memorial will cost about $42 million, all of which Stump had to raise, well over half of it donated by Kuwait, which owes its freedom to Desert Storm.
Does that bother you that you have to depend on Kuwait to honor an American war effort?
It doesn't bother me from the fact that it's making it happen and we're getting it done, but it's not right.
You've succeeded in getting this monument, but it also sounds like in the process you were disillusioned.
Absolutely. Been disillusioned at every turn of the way.
After the war, the public became disillusioned too.
The people have spoken, and we respect the majesty of the democratic system.
President Bush lost his run for re-election, while Saddam Hussein remained in power. Then came 9/11 and the forever wars of Iraq and Afghanistan.
You're only as good as the last war you fought. It can be shown by history that military power will only take you so far. That the success of Desert Storm is not a predicate for success in future combat.
Desert Storm was relegated to a footnote.
That doesn't mean it should be forgotten. We've got a lot of footnotes in our history, and the footnotes are important.
Something like what, 600,000 served in Desert Storm?
Yeah.
How do you think they're going to feel?
Most of them will think, well, gosh, we thought they were never going to remember.
It took 35 years and one man's obsession to construct not just a tribute to those who served, but also a remembrance of a moment in time.
Almost 2 generations ago, we amassed this very large force with a lot of international allies and very competently set out 6,000 miles to right a wrong and to do it at minimal cost. I think that's a pretty good history lesson.
They're going to look at that 100 years from now and say, wow, if they could come together and do the right thing, maybe we can too.